What I want to share with you now is the story of personal hardship and heartache from closed borders. Of course, Western Australia first closed its borders to the rest of the country back in April. Meet Jeff Moss, who's been trying to get home to see his daughter for months. Jeffrey Moss, thanks for joining us. Most of the year you haven't seen your daughter. She's 7 years old. Tell us her name and just how desperately you want to get across the Nullarbor to see her.
Her name's Cadence-Rose, or Cadence-Rose Moss, and I haven't seen her since the 23rd of January when I dropped her back in Sydney, and she caught a flight back to Western Australia when she was here on holidays, through the school holidays. So that hasn't happened since then due to COVID. I have been applying since I gave it a couple of months for obviously everything to settle down, try and do our part, and then once it settled down, I applied to come back. That then had been declined multiple times. There was a blanket ban put on New South Wales when the Victorian spur happened as well. Once all that dropped and New South Wales was taken away from that blanket ban, I applied back to Western Australia, constantly declined as travel for your children or to visit your children wasn't classed as essential travel. So I then I applied originally stating that I was going to quarantine the hotel at my cost. That didn't work. It was declined. So I had a friend reach out and offer me a place. So I then put it through for self-quarantining at her place. I'm meeting all their requirements as well. That didn't happen. I had some help recently from a lady, which you know as well, and with some advice she gave me, put an application in again. This time it come back saying that they needed more information. I finally put that application in last Monday again, with the updated information and a full self-quarantine plan, which is quite a hefty document stating how you're going to do everything, and it come back approved. So now I have my approval to come back as on the 25th of November.
That is fantastic. The lady you mentioned is Sky News contributor Jane Marwick, who's helped you out. Good on her. But the point is here, you've tried and you've applied for months. You've even volunteered to go into isolation. They won't have you back in WA. Now, the good news is you can go back next week. But now, because of the changes in the rules, you don't think you'll be able to drive. You won't be able to drive through South Australia. So you have to leave your car and all your goods and chattels in New South Wales.
I've had to give up everything to go across there. I'm very supportive of my work, and I've let them know that I was going to go visit my daughter. I recently, obviously, it got to the point where I've got to move there. There wasn't another option about it because of COVID. That's not going to happen. So I straight away, this has been going on for months and taking quite a toll on me. So I've decided straight away, as soon as that happened last night, I booked a flight this morning.
Yeah, good luck with that. You've got to get back. Let's hope nothing else goes wrong. But it is just ridiculous and heartless that you can't drive back with all your gear. I mean, you'd just be driving through the northern part of South Australia. You wouldn't be going into Adelaide. There's no risk of infection. How do you think Western Australia is handling this? They just seem to be heartless and inflexible. A bloke like you not allowed to get back and see his daughter for months on end.
What's gone on with the government, like I understand what was happening at the start of it, why that was in place. I've never once actually ever had a go regarding the border they did. But because of their hard stance on this, and they've just been given another reason now just to lock it down again, and 99% of the people are going to be travelling via the road through that intersection at Eucla is the only way that they can receive that.
I bet you can't wait for next week.
No, I can't, mate. And as I've spoken to Jane, and I would like to just say thank you again. She's been the most help through this and given me a lot of advice. But I honestly I'm anxious and I'm nervous, and people think I'll be a lot more happier than I am. But until I'm physically in that state, stand there, because it's been going on so long, I'll be a lot more happier. And I've actually made, last week when I got approval, I've actually told my daughter, and she's that excited. And I have told her next week, which I hadn't been telling her because I was just waiting again for another reason for this not to happen. But now that it's finally there, I've still got everything, even with the South Australia stuff, the approval's all there. So hopefully, next week or 1 week tomorrow about midday, I'll be standing actually back in Western Australia. So that's what the hopes are anyway.
Fantastic, Jeff. Good luck. Send us a pic when it all happens.
I will, mate. So thank you again for your time too.
Yeah, good luck to Jeff, and thanks for sharing his story. And Jane Marwick, 6PR broadcaster, of course, you know her here on Sky News, always doing stuff like that to help her fellow West Australians. So many people across the country have been hurt by these hard borders, and we've got to have a little bit more flexibility, a bit more common sense.